new mom's breastfeeding experience can be a walk in the park, a nightmare, or anything in between. Whatever the case, the World Health Organization recommends exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, with the continuation of breastfeeding along with solid foods for 2 years or longer. This is because breastfeeding provides newborns and infants with a complete source of nutrition for the first 6 months of life and is considered one of the most effective ways to ensure child health and survival of infants. The benefits of exclusive breastfeeding cannot be understated. First and foremost, breast milk is made up of a unique combination of protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals that adjust with the child as they grow. Moreover, breastfeeding provides emotional support and a feeling of security to both mother and child. When your child is hurt, sick, or going through a difficult time, comfort nursing can help fulfill the child's psychological and emotional needs. And that's not all. Breast milk contains antibodies that help your baby fight off viruses and bacteria. To encourage breastfeeding and improve the health of babies, every year from August 1st to 7th, World Breastfeeding Week is commemorated in over 120 countries around the globe. This year, the theme for Breastfeeding Week is Protect Breastfeeding, a Shared Responsibility, calls on everyone, including men, to support nursing mothers. While it is biologically a woman's role to provide breast milk, men can play a critical role in providing the moral and physical support required to achieve optimal breastfeeding for at least 6 months after birth. This year's theme highlights the links between breastfeeding and survival, health, and well-being of women, children, and nations. This is Her Standards with me, Quinta Mbori. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode that talks about issues that affect women. Special shout out to our host. We are coming to you from 4 Points by Sheraton in Hurlingham. Now, every year between 1st and 7th of August, the world marks a very, very important date in the lives of mankind. I'm talking about World Breastfeeding Day, which is basically used to raise awareness for breastfeeding, but also to look at how we can go against stigma associated with this day. If you want to be part and parcel of this conversation, talk to us on social media across the platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at KTN Home, or you can hit me up directly at Quinta Mbori, still across all social media platforms. Now, I'm joined by an amazing panel. As you can see, I have with me Josie, who will introduce herself very soon. She'll tell us what she does for a living. I also have Ida. I was about to forget that name, but and then we also have a bundle of joy. We will discuss later on whether they are bundles of joy or bundles of pain. Let's just call the baby Toto for now. And Toto is a very important part of this discussion because we are going to use Toto to try and understand what is the right way to breastfeed, especially for the working mother. Now, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Karibu sana. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me introduce myself.
Kindly.
Yes, my name is Ida Kamanyire. I am an experienced parent and author of one of the region's best baby cookbooks, known as Happy Baby Cookbook by Ida.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Her Standards.
Thank you for having me.
And this is the only show. Normally, we try not to encourage women to introduce themselves by the number of children they have, because it is, I think sometimes we put ourselves in a box, okay? Yeah. But on this particular show, you are allowed to say, because you've told us you are an experienced mother, you are allowed to tell us by how many years, by how many children. I think maybe I can start. Yes, I'm also an experienced mother. Okay. Apart from being your host, I have 3 children. I have a bonus child and 2 a teen and a twin.
Okay.
Yes. So, Ida, maybe you can also tell us how many children you have. I think it's important because of the topic that we're going to discuss today.
Not a problem. I have 2 children, 2 beautiful daughters. One is 7 years old and one is 1 year and a half. So let's say 7 years of experience. I also am blessed with a bonus daughter. She's 13 years old.
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
Nice. Now we can share experiences.
Yes.
Josie,
Thank you.
please talk to us.
I'm Josie Munene, and I am a lactation educator, infant and young child feeding counselor. I have a great passion for supporting breastfeeding. So this particular week is very important to me because it helps us to raise awareness on the challenges that breastfeeding mothers face, and also on how much more support that they can get from the different sectors. I'm a mother of 4. My oldest is a twin. My youngest is 4.5. So it's been about 11 and a half years of being immersed in raising children.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting journey. Yeah.
Who are your clients?
So depending on the work that I'm doing, I have expectant mothers because I also hold a prenatal breastfeeding preparation class. Then I have mothers who have delivered but are perhaps struggling. I'm also a skills trainer, so I provide skills training on how to better support mothers for health professionals. And then I also consult for various companies who want to work in the breastfeeding space. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Good stuff. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, to introduce Toto.
Yes. My Toto here.
Yes.
So Toto helps me in very many ways. When working with mothers, I'm able to demonstrate how they can hold their baby. So for instance, when I'm saying how to hold their baby for better breastfeeding, so she's very good with that. When I'm working with health professionals, how they can assist a mother who is breastfeeding, how they should now help a mother to learn how to latch. So Toto comes in very handy for all those things.
Good stuff. I see Toto and I decided to color coordinate.
Yes. Pink is for queens.
Clearly. Clearly.
Yeah.
Anyway, karibu sana.
Thank
You know, when you talk about breastfeeding, it just does not happen. It has to start from a process. And therefore, for most mothers, the process comes at a point when they realize that they're expectant. And then there's so many, there's so much expectation, there's so many myths, flying around about what to expect. But maybe what I want to ask you, for the purposes of this show, what is your most memorable moment, now that we are all moms? Yeah, what is your most memorable moment during your pregnancy or the time you learned that you are expectant? Let me start with Ida. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, my most memorable moment. Are you asking in terms of breastfeeding or do you mean generally?
Generally.
Oh, generally.
Before the breastfeeding.
Oh, before the breastfeeding.
Yes.
For me, it would have to be the baby kicks. I think for me that was really magical. I did not have the best pregnancies, so at least the baby kicks was what kept me going and what kept me positive.
What happened to you? You had difficult pregnancies?
Yes.
What exactly happened
I
there?
am a HG survivor. HG means hyperemesis gravidarum. So it's pretty much a condition where you have excess throwing up and being nauseated. So it deprives you the joy of pregnancy because you're mostly either on a drip, admitted in hospital, you can't eat well, you suffer deficiencies, organ failures and whatnot. So I'm happy I went through the pregnancies well, but for me the baby kicks is what really kept me going. It made me feel like, at least this journey is worth it and it will come to an end.
Yeah, to give you something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Josie?
I think I'll actually say more or less the same thing, especially with the first pregnancy, where you're pregnant, but you're not quite sure what it is, and then you feel butterflies, then you go, your doctor tells you, no, it's too early, that's gas. So it's really nice when you finally identify or you see a foot towards the end of the pregnancy, when you become so big, the baby becomes big, and you actually see, you know, the foot through or the hand. And for me, yes, definitely moments of bonding. So I'll agree with Ida. That was also special for me.
Now back to our topic for the day. We are celebrating breastfeeding week. What should we do? What should women do? Of course, we also have men. What should they do during this week? What should the community do? What are some of the breastfeeding week activities that we need to engage in? Aida?
Yes, thank you for that question.
Yes.
I think it is important to celebrate Breastfeeding Week because, first of all, as you said, there's a lot of stigma around breastfeeding. Yes, we still live in a society where mothers who breastfeed or show their breastfeeding are judged, you know. There's also body image that one may probably have a problem with and all that. So it's important to raise awareness through different platforms, probably social media, shows like this one, you know. Raise awareness on the benefits of breastfeeding, how it should be done, why it should be done, and why it is good to do it. Yes, so I believe it should be celebrated.
It should be celebrated.
Yeah, it should.
What are men supposed to do, Josie, as we celebrate Breastfeeding Week?
Well, men play a very, very important role in breastfeeding, even though they're not the ones that are directly breastfeeding the baby. But the support that comes from men, whether it is the partner, whether it is the brother, the uncle, the father, everybody has a role to play. For instance, if we're going to tell a mother to eat a balanced diet, and perhaps the man is the breadwinner, who is going to provide that balanced diet? Who is going to run interference with the in-laws and to say, no, she doesn't need to drink a kibuyu of uji? He's best placed to do that, you know. And even just things like at the hospitals, you know, most of our obs-gyns are men, you know. So at the end of the day, men have a very, very vital role to play in infant feeding and breastfeeding as well.
Good stuff. You know, I have, with my interaction with women, now that you've mentioned the gynecologists being men, my interaction with women is that majority of them actually prefer male gynas. That is topic for another day. Anyway, so the truth of the matter is that breastfeeding is a struggle for most women, especially for first-time moms. Me being included, I remember a couple of years ago, must have been 14 years, 14 years ago, my first experience as a mom, the first 1 month was horrible. There was a lot of pain, and I think I did not really understand the correct way for baby to latch. There was so much information flying back and forth about what I should do and what I should not do. So based on your experience as a lactation expert, what is there a right way of breastfeeding? Can mothers have peace of mind when breastfeeding?
Yes, they can. And I think, like you said, it starts at pregnancy. So especially mothers who have access to this information just before they deliver, because then they know, number one, basic things like how to position the baby, how they should be seated themselves, how they should hold the baby, why they are holding the baby like that, how they should bring the baby to the breast and the baby should attach, and the why. So those are the things that if a mother had that information prior to delivering, when she delivers and she's facing challenges, she already has some solutions at hand, including how much milk to expect when she does put the baby on the breast, because that is also an issue. Mothers expect to see gushing white milk, but in the beginning, even your breasts cannot produce that amount of milk. You've just given birth. Some women do leak during pregnancy, but it's not a lot. And it's not the common way. So even the amount of milk a baby needs is very little, because the baby's tummy is this size. You see? Yes. So this baby that I'm holding actually is a bit on the bigger side. So maybe we'd say that Toto is maybe about 2 weeks. She's not a newborn completely. She can go up to maybe even 1 month. But at day 1 and 3, between day 1 and 3, this is the size of the baby's tummy. So you see, the amount of milk that's needed to fill this is about maybe 15 ml per feed. But mothers expect that at birth, the baby's stomach is this size. Unfortunately not. So when a mother puts the baby on the breast and all she's getting, or when a mother squeezes her breasts and all she's getting is a few drops, that is fine, because you're looking for about a tablespoon. Yeah. So that is some of the things that if mothers knew beforehand, they wouldn't panic, or if they squeeze their breast and they see either some thick liquid coming out, they wouldn't panic. You know, it is not pus. In some cultures, actually, it's called colostrum. In some cultures, colostrum is viewed as spoilt milk.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whereas if they understood that actually colostrum is almost like the baby's first immunization, it is what opens up the bowel, so that all that, the first stool that comes out is triggered by colostrum. So all this information can be shared beforehand. And therefore, when a mother delivers, she knows, oh, I need to hold my baby at the breast. Yeah? At breast level. I need to be...
Not at the...
Yes, not down, you know.
And then we lean over.
Exactly, because can you really sit like this for 20 minutes?
No.
It's very tiring, you know. So you're bringing the baby to...
So first thing,
breast.
you have to ensure that you are seated.
Yes, you're seated comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
You're well supported.
Yeah.
Your back is supported. Your feet are supported. You can elevate your feet if, for instance, they are swollen. So you can always put a stool under your feet. That's fine. And then you make sure that you're seated in a way that if you can sit like this for about half an hour comfortably without getting too tired, then you're okay. You're in a good position. If you have next to you, you have a glass of water, because breastfeeding can also be quite... thirst inducing. Yeah, it can make mothers thirsty. So just a glass of water. Ideally, when you're breastfeeding, you shouldn't have anything hot, like you shouldn't be holding anything hot, because we know Toto is very well behaved at the moment, but real babies are constantly kicking out, you know, bumping their heads and everything. So as soon as you're comfortable, you make sure that you're focusing on your baby. And then also make sure that you bring your baby to this height, again, so that you're able to continue sitting comfortably. So the baby is at breast level, yeah? Then baby is facing the breast, yes? Why? When we are eating as adults, we also face our food, correct?
Okay.
Yes. So we need the baby to face their food. So if you have a baby that is facing upwards, the body is facing upwards, but the head is facing this way. Even if I was to ask you as an adult to try and drink water like this, would you be able to swallow? I can't even speak because it's very uncomfortable.
Okay.
So baby needs to face their food completely. How do we ensure that? The ear and the shoulder and the hip are in one direction. Yeah? So it's what we also refer to as tummy to tummy. But tummy to tummy is just an easy way of saying it. Ideally, the Y is so that the baby is in one straight line and facing the food. So it's easier to swallow. It's easier to hold the breast without any barriers. Yeah, so the shoulder is not in the way. Yeah.
Where were you 14 years ago?
I wonder where I was for myself.
I should have met you earlier. Huh?
Yeah.
No. I can see Toto is feeding.
Yes.
So one thing that I know mothers really struggle with is latching.
Yes.
So is it on the...
Yes. So now, when Toto is coming to the breast, yes, so we've already said that Toto is facing the breast and has a breast level. So I'm only putting Toto here for demonstration purposes. Ideally, the breast should be facing upwards as the baby is about to go and latch, yeah? Why? We want the nipple to land in the soft part of the baby's mouth, that is towards the back of the mouth. If you were to feel your own mouth at the front, there are some rough ridges, yeah? And then as you continue towards the back of your mouth, there's a softer spot.
Yeah.
It's higher, it's softer. And as you go there, the tongue also starts going downwards. So there's more space, number one, and there's less friction, yeah? So that's why we also call it breastfeeding, because in order for the nipple, just this part, to end up that far into the baby's mouth, it means the baby needs to take a lot more than the nipple. If the baby only takes the nipple will end up at this hard part.
Yeah.
And that hard part is squeezed between the tongue and the ridge. You see, so the nipple there will definitely become traumatized. There'll be trauma, it will become sore. But for the nipple to go all the way towards the back, it means that the baby needs to take more of the breast. So that is the trick. And the mother, especially depending on the way she's holding her baby and the way she puts the baby on the breast. So the way I'm holding my baby right now makes it easier. Then I can be able to shape the breast as the mother and then bring the baby on. Yeah, pointing it, if possible, towards the top of the mouth so that you see it just slides up towards the back. And then once the baby is latched and there is no pain, mother should not be feeling pain. Yeah, the signs to look for outwards, like you were saying, is the chin. So the babies, so you have something like this, yeah, like that. So you see the chin is against the bottom of the breast. There's a bit of the areola showing at the top, yeah. And then the lips of the baby are folded outwards, yeah. Meaning, again, if you were to suck your thumb, if the lips are turned inwards, you can't suck properly. You can't create a vacuum, yeah. And then you need also the bottom lip to be turned out so that the tongue can come out and also support the breast. So when you're breastfeeding, the breast is supported and stimulated by so many parts of the baby's mouth when you have a deep latch, yeah? So that is what makes it also effective for drinking and swallowing. You can imagine if you only latch onto the, like that, onto the nipple, it's like drinking through a straw. If you latch like this, it's drinking with the glass without a straw. So there's nothing that's inhibiting the flow of milk all the way down. Yeah.
Were you privy to this information when you got your first baby?
Actually, I wasn't. In fact, I actually wasn't. In fact, I'm really amazed at how well she's explaining it, and I wish this information was there before. I know for a fact that right now it's not also offered in many places, and it would be really nice if probably hospitals would expose mothers during pregnancy, like during prenatal visits, to such information, because I believe it would make the breastfeeding journey a lot easier.
Honestly speaking, I did not interact with this information even for my prenatal visit. There was no such information. Nobody instructed me. I wish I knew, that's all I can say. Now, when you talk about 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, what does it mean? Because some people actually assume that you can give baby maybe water or some fluids. When it is exclusive, what exactly does it mean? And is it achievable, especially for career women?
Yeah, so exclusive breastfeeding actually does mean that there's no water. It is only breast milk that passes through the baby's lips and medication if necessary. And it is achievable, but with a lot of support. And like Ida has said, like many moms get tired, generally because even in motherhood, you feel you're losing yourself, you're losing your identity to just being almost like you're just a milk producer for this baby, you know. So there's a lot that also comes with breastfeeding in terms of our identity as women. But with the right support and understanding that this is just, it's a phase that is quite necessary and your baby does need you. But as they grow older, after the 6 months, at least then, you know, there's food that comes and takes over. Knowing that it is not there to last forever, and knowing that actually your identity is not tied to whether or not you're producing 1 liter of milk a day, that helps. But also that kind of support only comes from everywhere, whether it's your workplace, whether it's your family and your community. In terms of working women, it's very, very difficult, especially because they're not always supported by their workplaces. I think that's where now the biggest gap comes in, because you can have a very good plan at home where you're even expressing at home because perhaps you need to go to the salon. So you know that you've been able to express a certain amount of milk before that. You've been able to leave your baby for 3 to 4 hours without any issues. But suddenly you go to work, and what I hear from most moms is that within the first 2 weeks of work, your milk supply is already going down. Why? Because breastfeeding is all about hormones, and breastfeeding is all about demand and supply. What do I mean? The more milk you remove, whether it's through direct breastfeeding or through pumping, the more milk that is replaced. So the body works in a very efficient way. The body is not going to produce more than is needed, because there's a lot more that the body is doing. It's keeping us alive. We are walking, we are moving, we are eating. So when it comes to milk, it's exactly the same thing. So if you go back to work and then you realize that whereas before you used to feed your baby or you used to express every 3 hours, now you're doing it every 6 hours, the body will reach a point where it will receive signals from the breast saying, my breasts are too full, engorgement. Breasts being too full means that we are oversupplying. Therefore, cut back on supply. Yes, so there are certain signals that are constantly being sent. So a mother who is continually engorged, even if it's over 3 days,
will suddenly notice that her milk supply will start going down. So what's the solution?
Yeah.
Is to express as much as possible frequently. Yeah. So if it's every 3 hours, express every 3 hours. And what many mothers don't know is that there's actually a provision in the Health Act 2017. Section 71 and 72 talk about lactating rooms, which are supposed to be set up by employers, but it also talks about protected time. Mothers have 1 hour for every 8 hours worked. So for that 1 hour, if you work an 8-hour day, you have an hour. It doesn't mean that you express for an hour in that day, and that's in addition to lunch. So break it up, 20 minutes. Every 3 hours, express for 20 minutes. Every 3 hours, express for 20 minutes. And you'll be able to actually maintain your milk supply. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important that you brought up that issue about creating an enabling environment for lactating mothers at work, because I know it's a big deal for most women. If you listen to the horror stories that women tell you, the places, the unhygienic places they go to lactate or to nurse, it's quite unfortunate. And we hope that organizations or companies that haven't set up lactating rooms, I hope they can do something about it. It is human. Yeah, let's support these mothers. Now, we are about to take a break, and I know time goes by so fast. Does such a thing as not having enough milk exist? Because I believe I did not have enough milk.
It exists in about a very small percentage of women cannot produce milk, whether it's biologically, anatomically, yes. But majority of women can produce milk. The problem is the letdown. There's a cycle to it. So whether or not they're in an enabling environment, are they stressed? That can affect it, you know. Are their nipples cracked? Do they have inverted nipples? That can affect it as well, because that's removal. So there are certain things that can happen and parameters that can prevent effective breastfeeding, but it does not mean that that mother does not have milk or cannot produce milk. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point to take a short break to sort out some bills. Well, if you're just joining us, we are talking about World Breastfeeding Week in order to sensitize breastfeeding and also to talk against the stigma associated with breastfeeding. The second part of this show, we want to look at some of the myths associated with breastfeeding, as well as the budget involved in breastfeeding, and also address the theme which involves offering support for all mothers. We'll be right back. Talk to us if you have a comment, if you have a question that has been nagging you, you're a first-time mother and you're wondering, how do I navigate all of this? We are here for you, and we have the experts. Talk to us at KTN Home across all platforms, or you can also hit me up directly at Quintembori on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. Do not step away.